Resident Evil, Silent Hill, two of the most iconic survival horror franchises of all time. These games took big steps forward in adding a more sinister element to gaming. Horror games technically existed before, but were typically action games with a spooky theme, say Castlevania or A Nightmare on Elm Street on NES. There was one other game that released in 1995 that is sometimes referred to as the launching point of survival horror, though. This is where Human Entertainment comes into the picture. At the time, they were mostly known for their sports games, like Formation Soccer, Final Match Tennis, and the Fire Pro Wrestling series. Sometime in the mid-90s, a competition was held between their employees to pitch ideas, and the winner would get their idea produced into a full game. This would be won by newer employee, Hifumi Kono. Being a big fan of horror movies, he pitched the idea of making a game that captures the feeling of hiding from a stalker, similar to movies he had watched, being heavily inspired by the works of Italian director Dario Argento, specifically the films Suspiria and Phenomena, the latter in which the main character of his game, Jennifer's design, is inspired from. This led to Clock Tower starting development on the Super Famicom. This is a basic overview on how Clock Tower came to be and its inspiration, but in this series I'll be focusing on the story that is told in the games, as well as being a pseudo walkthrough. I'll cover the story of Clock Tower SNES, also known as the First Fear in this video, followed by Clock Tower 2, released in the US as simply Clock Tower on PS1, and a continuation of the first game. Clock Tower Ghost Head, a spin-off, releases Clock Tower 2, The Struggle Within in the US, and finally, Clock Tower 3, which has some slight ties to the first two. I might cover Haunting Ground, Nightcry, and Remothered at some point, but today isn't that day. With that out of the way, time to talk about Clock Tower, The First Fear. It happened in September. You play as Jennifer Simpson, an orphan from the Granite Orphanage in Romsdal in Norway, along with three others, Anne, Laura, and Lot, on September 14th, 1995. Although they've all been adopted together, they're not necessarily friends. They've been adopted by Simon Barrows, a wealthy man, and brought to his mansion by their teacher, Mary. All the girls are excited to live there in the mansion known as the Clock Tower, named after the largest feature of the building. As they all enter the mansion, Mary says she's going to look for Mr. Barrows. When she doesn't return, Jennifer decides to go look for her, but when she leaves, she hears a scream. And when she walks back, the room is empty and the lights are off. After this, Jennifer decides to explore the mansion to see exactly what's happening. This is where one of the different story options can occur, the first death. There are 5 different scenes you can get, all resulting in at least one of Jennifer's friends dying. The first friend she can find is Laura. Jennifer can either walk into the foggy bathroom to find her hanging in the bathtub, or in a suit of armor in the second living room. Alternatively, Anne could be found. She can either get impaled through the stained glass ceiling, drowned in the courtyard pool, or thrown out of the window of Mary's office. The bathroom, ceiling, and courtyard scenes are what can first introduce the main thread of the story, Bobby Barrows, later known in legend as the Scissor Man. There are many different ways you can approach what to do after this, but following ending C, there are a few items that are key to completion. The main three being the black robe, the perfume, and the demon idol. The black robe can either be found by climbing over a wall in the storage room, or looking in a closet in the armor room. The storage room is actually a place where you can hide from Bobby, which is how most people end up finding it. The perfume can only be found in a dresser in the East Wing bedroom. It is a pretty small area to highlight to find it, so it can be easily missed. Then, the demon idol is located in the hand of one of the statues near the painted off room. Jennifer will only be able to find it when she reads that there is some sort of idol by reading one of the books in the library. Another option, dictated by RNG that you might have to do instead, is find the scepter. This way of completing the game is not canon, so I will not delve into it here. Before anything is done with the demon idol, Jennifer must find out Mary's true intentions. To be able to do this, Jennifer needs to have obtained the West Wing key, which can either be found in a box on top of a dresser in the living room with the TV, or by moving a box to get to the crow's nest located on the second floor. At this point, Jennifer will be able to learn about Mary in two different ways, either by being drugged or discovering her father. Being drugged can be triggered one of two ways, either by going into the armor room, where Mary tries to comfort Jennifer by giving her a drink, which ends up being poisoned, or by consuming one of the drinks in the kitchen cabinet. Both of these will lead to Jennifer waking up in a cell with a mysterious man. If Jennifer didn't pick up the ham in the kitchen before this happens, the man will eat her, resulting in a game over. If she has the ham, she will give it to the man, making him just rational enough to talk. He reveals that he is Simon Barrows, the man who adopted the girls at the beginning. He will then tell Jennifer vaguely about what he calls the cradle under the star. Before ignoring her. If Jennifer has discovered the green key located in a hole in the library, then she can open the cell herself. If not, Lot will come and let Jennifer out and try to leave. Before being shot by Mary just outside the shed. Jennifer can escape by hitting Mary on the head with a piece of wood before running into the courtyard. The other way that Mary's intentions can be discovered is by finding a body in the hidden room by breaking the wall down. Walking into the room, Jennifer makes a comment about how the room looks like it hasn't been used in years and how the air feels stale. She then sees a medical bag on the floor with the name Walter Simpson, revealing to Jennifer that the corpse in the room is her father.
And your father is dead.
There are also two charts on the floor. The first one talking about a pair of twins being born, and another one listing the master of the house and the patient's names, revealing that the master of the house is Mary, and that she, herself, is a Barrows. When she looks around the room more, she finds the corpse holding a note. The note explains that Walter was brought to the Barrows mansion to help Mary give birth to twins, who, due to a family curse, are born as demons, with them biting Walter's hand off right after being born. After this had happened, Mary believed that Walter knew too much and locked him in the room to die from suffocation on November 10th, 1986, 3 days after the delivery. Walter mentions the cradle under the star as well in the last part of his note before calling out to Jennifer in his last dying words. After learning the truth about Mary, Jennifer finds a locked door that needs a key. The key to that room is located in Bobby's nursery, but after she grabs it, she's attacked by a possessed doll. The key unlocks the ceremony room, which is related to the cradle under the star that Jennifer heard about from Simon or Walter earlier, with a giant star on the floor and a square hole visible, but not open. When Jennifer puts the demon idol on the pedestal, it opens the hole. Jennifer then proceeds to climb down the ladder, which leads to a small underground cave system. When she reaches the bottom, she sees Mary, in a black robe, walk past a guard dog. Jennifer, using perfect intuition, is able to get past the dog by putting on the robe and perfume she found earlier, allowing her to get to the other side. What's at the end of the room is based on previous events. If Jennifer got out of the cage by herself or found her father, Lot will be lying there in a sort of ritualistic way, and with her last dying words, will explain that to defeat Bobby, she has to activate the switches to the clock tower. If Lot is killed by Mary earlier, then Jennifer will have to find out how to defeat Bobby by reading a cryptic note in the religious study room. That note specifically mentioning the phrase, "Time will cause adherence." Jennifer then ventures deeper into the cave and eventually finds what looks to be a large curtain. She goes to investigate what's inside. Only to find what looks like a large baby creature. This is Dan Barrows, Bobby's twin brother, and this is the cradle under the star. Dan is woken up by this and immediately begins to chase Jennifer down a small stream with a steep cliff near. Jennifer is able to escape Dan by climbing up, but once she reaches the peak, she accidentally knocks over a can full of kerosene that hits a candle and ignites, setting Dan ablaze and starting to collapse the catacombs. Jennifer, in a panic, runs and eventually finds an elevator to escape up to the second floor. Once she's up, she runs down the hallway. Which leads her to running into Mary, who, after blaming Jennifer for the death of Dan, tries to stab her. But she's able to escape and run. Mary tells Bobby that Jennifer killed Dan and orders him to chase her along with herself. As Jennifer is climbing up to the top of the clock tower, Mary grabs her leg but is kicked down, leading to her death. Jennifer makes it to the top of the clock tower with Bobby not too far behind, but is able to reach the switches before Bobby can reach her. The noise from the clock tower starts to affect Bobby, causing him to throw his scissors to the ground, grab his head, and fall off the edge into the gears, resulting in his death. With the chimes of the clock, Jennifer walks outside and watches as the rain slowly fades away and the sun starts to rise in the distance. This would be the end, but here's where I talk about a major change in the PS1 version. Although most of the changes are sound changes, maybe adding a room or a few new events, this one is much more important. After Jennifer escapes from Dan and sets him on fire, as you're leaving, the camera pans to show his remains, only for a shadowy figure to rise out of the ashes, revealing that Dan is still alive, setting up for the story in Clock Tower 2.